Today we're talking about finding story in what I like to call documentary style commercials, which is one of my favorite. So, let's go. So, funny story, I got this guy Luke who runs Piskey's Automotive Detailing here in Windsor, Ontario. He follows me on this channel, YouTube channel, and I started following him on Instagram, and he's this really super down-to-earth entrepreneur that details these really incredible cars, along with all sorts of other things like boats and I think small planes. But Luke is such a nice guy, and I said, hey, Luke.
I am your father.
I'd love to get to know how your business came to be, what's your story. So I got together with him and just learned so many cool things about his business. And I thought, hey, this would be cool to do kind of a documentary style commercial for Luke because he's got all these great stories and he's this down-to-earth guy who does this really incredible work right here in Windsor. So that's what we did.
A lot of people say Windsor's dead, there's no work. But you know what? If you want to work, you can work. Take the easiest idea. You want to pick weeds, you can pick weeds. Put your headphones on, charge money, people will pay. Take the most simplest idea and turn it into something else, and it'll work. Don't wait for the work to come to you, go to them. Thank you.
I love documentary and I love commercial, and when you can put them together, it's my favorite type of commercial to make. Documentary style commercial to me is when you have a client with a true story or many stories and you want to build a commercial series around those true stories. The hope here, at least in my eyes, is when you're telling a true story in a commercial, it's going to touch the audience on a deeper level than if it was a scripted, untrue story. Not to say that you can't script something that's not true and it still be amazing and touching to an audience. That's great too, you can do those. I've done those as well, and I like doing those. There's a time and a place to do those. But I think when you have a guy like Luke, who is a solo entrepreneur and kind of does everything himself, and he's got this down-to-earth feeling about him, and he works so hard, and he's built his business from the ground up, from humble beginnings, I think it's just the perfect opportunity to tell some true stories within the commercial. And what's so fun about this process that you can't get from a scripted commercial that doesn't have any true elements or these true stories in them is with the true stories, and you sit down and you interview your client, you talk to your client, and you get to know that client or that subject. You start to find out all these little gems about their life and how they started their business. And these are really cool moments in time, and we can utilize those moments for a commercial to really touch an audience, by opening up yourself and your stories and being transparent and honest to an audience that's watching. I really think people can tell when things are real and when they're not. So the hardest part about this process, and we're talking about finding story within documentary style commercials, is the interview process. You gotta take the time to get to know your subject. You want to ask them lots of questions. You want to just sit down with them without your camera, without your gear, and just get to know them and find out how they started their business. And you make mental notes or write them down on all the things that kind of touched you and kind of pulled at your heart when you were talking with them. So when you go to film your interview, you have this in the back of your head, you have it on your notes for the questions you're going to ask, so you're not just wandering all over the place with the interview. When you are actually ready to do your interview, you have your camera, you have your lights, you have your location, you have your questions, you have your motivation as a filmmaker and what you want to do with these commercials, but you need to kind of all leave that aside. You need to put that all aside because you need to focus on listening to your subject or your client. Listening is hard, and there's a reason for that, because it requires you to stop thinking about the things that you want and start focusing on the things that somebody else wants. And it's something that comes with lots of practice, doing lots of interviews, and trial and error. Every time you do an interview, you're hoping to get better and better at listening. The less you say, the more you're gonna get from your subject. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in an interview is not talk at all. So if someone was to say, I'm Luke and I run Piskey's Automotive Detailing here in Windsor, and then they stop right there and pause, don't chime in. See what they do. Leave an awkward pause, because sometimes that awkward pause tells the subject that, maybe I should just keep talking. And then they'll start talking and start saying things that can be the most powerful things that you're gonna capture on film, and you didn't even initiate it with a question. So when you're doing this interview, you're looking for diamonds in the rough.
The diamond in the rough.
you're looking for things in the interview that can reach out to an audience on a personal level. And a perfect example for this was when Luke started telling me about when he won a new business award here in Windsor, Ontario. And he had no idea he was gonna win. He was up against some big competitors and he didn't write a speech or anything. And he's at the award show and they announce the nominees in that category. When they announce the winner and it turns out to be him, he's totally shocked because he hasn't prepared anything in terms of a speech because he didn't expect to win. And when he goes up to give his speech, he ends up flying off the seat of his pants. The audience loves it. Everything he's saying, they're laughing at. He's just speaking from the heart, and it really talks to the point that I'm trying to make here, is that sometimes not having something prepared and just speaking from the heart can be more powerful. i.e., what I'm trying to do in these commercials was tell true stories. And it's cool because within this 30-second commercial that I made with Luke, he's telling a true story without any script, and in our commercial, we're telling a true story without any script. So when he told me that story about winning the award and not expecting to win and giving it a speech and getting a standing ovation and people just loving his speech, I thought that's a perfect little gem to make a 30-second commercial out of. We can take that memory, because he had archival footage of the award show, we'll take that and we'll cut it to new footage of him working on a Ferrari in his shop. It'll just be this little slice in time that we can all enjoy together as an audience watching this commercial with Luke, as if we were experiencing this moment with Luke for the first time. It touched me, so I'm hoping when people see it, it touches them as well. So I think all around, it's just a really nice, tight 30-second commercial that we didn't plan, but going into it, I had a rough idea. I wanted to get to know Luke and I wanted to tell some true stories about him in a commercial format. So an important point to remember here in this particular commercial where we show this old award show footage, none of my interview footage made it into this 30-second commercial, which is hilarious. The information I got from the interview led me to get the archival footage of Luke at the award show to cut to the B-roll of the new footage of him working on a Ferrari and showcasing his business in a nostalgic kind of way. So it's a really good example of you're not always gonna use your own footage or the stuff that you actually filmed on the day of the shoot. Sometimes it's archival footage. So it could be old pictures, old video in this case. It's not always obvious. So you wanna be on the lookout for any type of gems. Ask your subjects, oh, do you have a photo of that? You mentioned you and your father working. Do you have a photo of you and your father working? So you can use those archival pictures or videos alongside the new footage to tell an all-round compelling story. Okay guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Go for it.